springtime in Oklahoma, which means flowers and plants, but I'm going to start this interview with Heidi Berry, taking us back to the holidays. See, every Christmas, my colleague Grayson Cook brings in poinsettias to me and the crew. 2 weeks later, it's a crime scene because I have killed them. So the lady who can help me, and perhaps a lot of you out there with annuals and perennials, from HGTV, the Home Collection, Heidi Berry, great to meet you. Thanks so much for coming into our studio today.
Thank you for having me, Dave. I appreciate it.
Let's start with you a little bit. Heidi, tell us more about what you do and the nursery that you run.
Okay. My nursery is in Tahlequah here, great state of Oklahoma. We are a plant partner for HGTV Home. We made that choice because we wanted a plant company that would also help us with trends, not just plant nerd information.
What is plant nerd information?
Well, a lot of the collections that are branded are great. They're just more plant collections, whereas HGTV Home is a little bit more unique. It's a little bit more of a lifestyle collection. We still pay a lot of attention to the plants, the plant quality, but HGTV has a design director who helps us with trends, color tones, what's going to make you on edge and in style with your home when you're updating your plants each spring and summer.
Before we get into what we have on display here, let's talk a little bit about the HGTV Home Collection. Where can people find this?
This year it is premiering in the Southwest at Home Depots.
So everything we talk about here, if you're looking, hey, where can I find that? That sounds fantastic. They can go to a Home Depot and find.
Absolutely, your local Home Depot has it in stock. And the great thing too is it's on a rotation. What you see these 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks is probably going to be a different color mix. So if you see something you love here, you better hurry and get it, or try next week and there's going to be a whole fresh new look. You
mentioned plant nerd stuff, and before we started talking, I was talking about perennials and annuals, and clearly I didn't know the difference between those. So let's start there. Define the difference between those two.
Absolutely. Most of what we are showcasing here today is an annual, which is just a once a year pop of color that you're going to plant in your yard or in your containers. You're going to get great wow, but it will only be the one time. There's a wonderful container down there that has a perennial in it. It has a little bit of an advantage in the fact that it'll have bloom power for several weeks, and you can then plant it in your yard and it will return next year.
So with that, is an iris an example of that?
Yes.
It's a very short shelf life, I think, bloom time. It's in the spring perhaps, and then boom, it's gone, but it comes back, right?
Right. You enjoy it while it comes. Sometimes it's even a great idea to bring the outdoors in, clip it, put it in a vase, bring it in, enjoy it, and then anticipate next year's return.
And you mentioned perhaps planters could work for those.
Yes, absolutely. What we have here is a perennial, as we discussed. The core of this is a perennial. People sometimes get intimidated by what they're going to put in their container, and that's
right here, always.
That is not anything you need to worry about. You know, obviously, a container like this, we chose this because gray is one of our trends, as well as metals, but this has kind of got a nice ash concrete look. You'd want to drill holes in it, obviously for drainage.
For the water, okay.
Right.
So you don't drown it.
Exactly. So,
which I am guilty of for sure.
Well, and a lot of people think, they forget about overwatering. Underwatering is common, but you can overwater and choke it out just
drowns or whatever.
Just as much. But yes, you could use this, would be a perfect example of planting this perennial in the center of here and then splashing around with these wonderful annuals. And when your color starts to fade, the blooms start to drop, you can take the perennial out, plant it in your flower bed, and anticipate it returning next year.
You mentioned containers. Containers are important and trendy. Tell us more about those.
Yes, they are, and they can make a big difference. An example is this one. Copper is another trend that we're seeing, kind of a copper look. We did this one, combination already made. You can take something like this, a little less expensive, but you still get that copper look and that trend. HGTV has made wonderful plant combinations to complement trend containers. You see that, how great that looks. But you can play with it, don't be afraid of it. We sell these already planted and ready to go, or you can be creative and you may like more of the red. That would give you, these are sold in these gallons and quarts to give you the freedom to plant it yourself.
Heidi, it seems like a guy like me who doesn't know clearly much of anything about plants, though, might want a ready-made situation like that because it has a nice variety and it looks like I know what I'm doing, right?
Absolutely. You could impress a lot of people with that. You know, you would look really savvy with your color tones and your choice. And I want to also point out to please look on the tags for pointers about where these plants need to go.
Well, that's a good point, especially here in Oklahoma in the summer when it's just really, really hot. What's a good thing to look for?
Most of the plants that you will see in the garden centers were selected for your zone. So obviously most of the plants in Oklahoma, Home Depots and garden centers were selected for Oklahoma. But do pay attention to shade-loving plants versus sun-loving plants.
So something like this might be maybe under the house eave or maybe some shade, a tree or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. I could see something like this approaching a front porch where the eave,
right,
it gets the shade, and you could double up and do two. And if you've got some steps, you could use these smaller complementary quartz and put them in a pot, and then you've got this whole look. I can make you look really good.
Well, it wouldn't take
this
much.
Collection.
Now you mentioned these guys, and they're
Yes.
full sun.
Yes,
That kind of surprised me because it looks like they'd be too delicate for full sun.
They do, but it's a sweet tunia. It's a petunia line. All of these are. And this is a great thing because it's just a natural moss basket. It's going to be fine. The water's going to come right through once you water it, and it's just going to match any decor. And these are nice and stiff, which sometimes in a basket you don't get that. And as it gets watered, it's heavy and it doesn't take it. But these are wonderful. You hang them up, ready to go. And another thing to note, whether you're doing your container as well as when you purchase a basket, these are going to continue to grow. I encourage you to buy a little bit larger container than what you...
So if you bought a fern, it's going to grow, and perhaps that base then overgrows it, and that's not a good thing.
Right. You want to give it room to expand so that it remains healthy. And just know that you're going to get more out of this. This example is the sweet potato vine. It's going to trail over the pot, give you a nice effect, same as this. And just like us, nutrition is important. I have a fun little tip that you're going to like. You can do this.
Throw it my way, please.
You can do this. If you've got an inconspicuous place to put a Rubbermaid trash can, say, fill it up with water, and the old blue plant food? Surely you do.
Yep.
Okay. I have faith in you now. the Peters.
It was on the edge there for a second.
I know. I was a little scared. If you didn't know the blue plant food, I was going to be scared.
Dave, let's start day one.
Well, you just put a nice multi-purpose plant food in the trash can based on the quantity of water. And what I like to do is get your old watering can, dip it down in there, and water with that feed a couple times a week. It's already mixed in that can, ready to go. And it's just a simple way and reminder to give them some food, and it's kind of a no-brainer.
All right, as we move ahead, spring and summer in Oklahoma, what's a trendy plant that what's popular this season?
You see a lot of petunias in containers like these, and you see them in the landscape because they do spread as the summer heat turns on. They continue to grow and flourish. Obviously, you have to water them and care for them, but I think petunias are really hot. This is a Calibracoa. It's another version.
Well, it looks like they come in multicolors too.
They do, and that's the nice thing. And this one has a nice vein, then you've got the solid, so you do get a variety of texture and look in your landscape. But I think anything that's heat tolerant, some people are concerned about water-wise plants. There are some choices for those as well. Pay attention to these tags. We try to do our best to educate you with the tag and make it easy for you. It gives you tips on watering, where it should go, examples of that.
She's Heidi Berry. She's with the HGTV Home Collection, which, by the way, you can find at Home Depot. Heidi, any other sort of advice you want to throw our way?
I think the big thing is just don't be afraid. Have fun with it. Go out, get your hands dirty. It's a cheap kind of therapy, and you get a wonderful plant to enjoy. Everybody loves splashes of color around their patio, and it makes you feel warm and excited, so just do it.
Well, I have one question for you as we exit this interview here. How do you keep a poinsettia alive?
A poinsettia is a tropical, believe it or not.
So what's that mean for me?
What that means for you...
Am I watering it too much? Am I not watering enough? Is the office space fluorescence not good for it?
Probably. I think if you get a nice sunny day, push it to the window,
so
let it feel the love of the sun, because like I said, it's a tropical. Keep the foliage, the dead foliage, keep that clean underneath.
There's usually a lot of that.
Well, it's going to drop, but keep it clean underneath and try to water underneath the foliage. Don't water on top of the flower.
Okay.
Just, water at the base, and we have a wonderful grower in our nursery, and he says he talks to the plants. And what he means by that...
Guys, you're not going to see me talking to the plants unless things have gone horribly wrong.
He pays attention to the plant is what that really means. He lets the plant tell him what it needs. And I think if you try a little bit of that, it might work for you.
Heidi Berry, she's great. Thanks so much for stopping in today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.